So in this one, this is just another sped up modeling session, but the point of this was to explore ideas really. And you'll see this because I'm going to use some kind of messy modeling techniques, stuff that maybe you could refer to as sort of brute force modeling. The initial part of this, I'm just creating leg components really and mirroring those so that those are components, but the center cabinet portion is just a group, and I'm not detailing it out. I'm not building out the actual pieces of how it would be built. I'm just using basic lines to create proportions and to explore design. And it's a way not only to sort of like do some really rough SketchUp modeling, but it's a way just to explore ideas and say, what does this look like? That's one cabinet, looks okay. Now let's just take it, copy it, make the legs unique, and start again and try something completely different. And for me, I deliberately use this sort of messy modeling where I'm not building out components and groups to build out these pieces, because it mentally, I think it helps me to keep the idea of like, I'm really sketching. I'm sketching, I'm keeping things purposefully really loose. I'm not committing to anything. So this to me is sort of the idea of really drawing on paper, but in 3D and in SketchUp, and getting a good feel for how it might look. So in this one, I used a few more curves, and it's a completely different sort of form from the first, but with the same size. So I'm using the same constraints, something that's about 60 inches wide by roughly 30 inches tall and 18 inches deep. So within those general constraints, I'm just saying, how many ideas can I come up with as quickly as possible? So I did 3 ideas here, and they took about, 20 minutes to do these 3, and then I'll take one of them and then sort of explore it out and see, okay, how would this actually work if I were to build it, and maybe figure out what would that be. But again, you can see like it's really rough ideas, and again, that's purposeful. I like it. I like doing this sometimes where I just take something. I don't necessarily need to build a media cabinet, but I like taking it and being like, let's just explore some ideas and sort of flex the creativity muscles and what that might be. So there was 3 ideas really quickly, and now I've taken one of them and say, maybe I like this one. Let's explore this one idea. Let's explore this one idea and sort of how might it be built. And so I'll take another 20 minutes, and really quickly now I'll start breaking it apart into pieces. Don't necessarily need to figure out all the joinery at this point. Again, this is still exploration. So this time I'm making one set component and the other set, and mirror that to the other side for legs and the pieces that might go in it. If I knew I really liked this, maybe I'd take more time and put more attention into the details of actually figuring out exactly how this would go together. In this case, it's more still an exploration to say, how might this work? I've got the basic design over here, but it's in a really rough form, so what are the pieces I'd need, and how might I figure out the joinery? And in this case, if I want to put this through mortise and tenon, do I need to make the leg a little bit thicker to make that relationship work? Things like that, where I've got the basic idea, the basic form figured out, and now it's little tweaks to see if we wanted to make it real, then what do we do? And I really don't figure out full on, in this case, the joinery. I think it's at a level, it depends on sort of what you're wanting to do with it, right? At this point, if you're familiar with building this type of furniture you could probably keep it at a pretty rough level and take a few rough dimensions, basic dimensions, and a few pictures, and take that out to the shop and start building from there. Of course, if you were going to make plans or something, then we'd need to take it to a lot more detail than what I'm doing. But again, it depends on what you're doing. For me, I'm just trying to break it into the main different pieces that would say, this would be a different board, this would be a different board. What is this going to be? Hardwood? Is it going to be plywood? These stretchers, are they going to be plywood with a hardwood face on them, or something else? Just figuring all that out. Still an opportunity to say, hey, little design elements. Maybe this comes out not all the way to the front of the outer case. Maybe it has a little bit of reveal, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe that doesn't end up working. It's just working out those little details at this point. This drawer, I'm not putting in drawer joints, or I'm not saying how I'm going to construct the drawer. Don't need to. Just need the size, which is put in there accurately ½ inch in from each side. But that's as far as I need that to be, and then I can make each of these drawers, again, components, make the drawer faces on them. I think, and again, because this is all exploration, when I made these drawer faces, I think I offset them initially 1/16 in from where they'd be sitting, and then just looking at that, you might guess, but looking at that, you can say, that's too much, and then I think I changed it, or it may have been 1/8 initially, and then I brought it out a 16th inch, so it had a 16th inch gap all the way around, which looks better. Got the basic drawers, got most of the basic forms worked out. Again, if you took this and had a few dimensions, I think if you know your shop well enough, you could take that and run with it and build the whole thing. So it just depends on what you're trying to do with it. Again, working out some details could take it farther, but at this point it's kind of as far as I wanted to explore this idea. Validate it, you're like, yeah, I could make that work. I'm not going to take it that much farther. That's it. It's done. I think at this point I did want to texture it, so I copied this texture block. This is an idea that I've been playing around with. You just take a block and you take a simple texture and you orient it in different ways on that block, and then so you can see with these arrows the direction, the grain direction, and that helps. So when I want to place this on something, I can sample that face so that I know it will line up correctly. That's something I've been playing around with. There's areas where it works well, and there's a few areas where it doesn't. And in this case, the concept, that idea of placing that texture is working fine. And then as I put this in here, I wanted to create some contrast and get a different texture in here. So I'm creating a new texture that's just a darker one, but still based on that same. And at this point, it doesn't take much longer for me to just say, I don't like this texture at all. It's too distracting. For me anyway. It's too distracting from the model. I'm sort of tweaking it and saying, I think in a moment here, after adding some handles, I just get rid of the texture and use a basic color, which helps me just look at the form a little better than the texture feels busy. I think I need a little more subtle texture. But that's the idea. Overall, this exercise was around an hour of doing a couple initial, like say, 3D sketches, then taking one of those and exploring it further to see, would I really want to build this out? And it's just an exercise I think is useful to do sometimes. So I think give it a try, and if there's a piece that or a question you have, let me know in the comments, and I will keep throwing these up. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.